Hey, what's up? What's going on? So many of you may know I've done lots of videos on R. Kelly, and then some of these videos I actually propose some theoretical strategies, and other videos we looked at the actual criminal lawsuit. Where it just so happens I recently got a copy of the civil suit between Heather Williams and R. Kelly. Now, to my knowledge, this information is not available anywhere else on the internet. So you're privileged to get this information. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually make a series of videos, or actually this series of videos is going to be about looking at the details of the Heather Williams lawsuit and performing some basic analysis, as well as looking at the response from R. Kelly, and then looking at some basic options he has in terms of strategy. Now, I say all this, you have to keep in mind, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't, go to law school. I don't have a license to practice law. I'm just doing this. I'm just some guy on the internet. So basically, take anything I say with a grain of salt. And again, I'm doing this under the freedom of speech, basically my own opinion. I'm just another guy out there on the internet with an opinion. So, okay, so I hope to see you soon for the next couple of videos. All right, here it is. As promised, here is the actual lawsuit. HW, also known as Heather Williams, whom is the plaintiff, versus Robert Kelly, aka R. Kelly. I'm sorry, Robert Sylvester Kelly, also known as R. Kelly, who is the defendant in this suit. Now, this suit was filed February 21st, 2019, and this is the real deal. This is the actual lawsuit. You can't find this anywhere else on the internet. It's only available here, and basically, we're going to go through this lawsuit. We're going to look and take a peek at what Mrs. Williams is claiming. And we're going to have a series of subsequent videos to basically analyze and basically go into detail about this suit. And then we're also going to follow up with several videos to look at the response from R. Kelly, and then we'll end it with possible strategies for R. Kelly. And again, I'm not a lawyer. This is all done under freedom of speech, and it's all for fun and entertainment and educational purposes. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So, complainant law, child abuse, childhood sexual abuse. Now comes the plaintiff, Heather Williams, by and through her attorney, Duchesham and Scoffish, PC, and complaining to the defendant, Robert Sylvester Kelly, stated as follows. Defendant Robert Sylvester Kelly is now and was at all times relevant here to the resident of Cook County, state of Illinois. The defendant, known to the public as R. Kelly, is an American singer, rapper, recorder, producer. The plaintiff, Heather Williams, is now a resident of the state of Michigan and was at all times relevant hereto a resident of Cook County, state of Illinois. The plaintiff, Heather Williams, was born on May 26, 1982. All the facts complained herein occurred before plaintiff Heather Williams' 18th birthday on May 26, 2000, and occurred in the city of Chicago, in Cook County, in the state of Illinois, that on May 26, 1998, when she was 16 years of age, the plaintiff, Heather Williams, was walking down the city of Chicago sidewalk when the defendant, Robert Sylvester Kelly, drove by in his car, stopped briefly to speak to the minor plaintiff. Shortly thereafter, an associate defendant met the minor plaintiff and her family at a restaurant that day and gave the minor plaintiff defendant's phone number and indicated that the defendant wanted to speak to the minor plaintiff and have her come to his studio, be in a video that he was making. At all times relevant hereto, the defendant Robert Sylvester Kelly had a long history of interactions with minor young women that he would charm and lure to his studio or residence under the guise of prospects in the music or entertainment business to become victims of sexual assault. At all times relevant hereto, the minor plaintiff Heather Williams was starstruck and wanted to meet with the defendant to pursue a role in what she believed was a music video. That at all times mentioned herein, there was in full force and effect a certain statute of state of Illinois, commonly known as the Childhood Sexual Abuse Act, Chapter 735, Illinois Compiled Statute, Section 513-202, and sequitur. And this complaint is brought pursuant to that statute. Now, this is going to be interesting. Later on, we're going to actually look at this statute and see how it plays a role in this case. But anyway, let's continue on. Commencing in or about June 1998 and thereafter until she was of age of majority, defendant Robert Sylvester Kelly sexually abused plaintiff Heather Williams. Specifically, defendant Robert Sylvester Kelly had sexual intercourse with the minor plaintiff. The defendant also engaged in oral with the minor plaintiff. The defendant also engaged in oral sex with the minor plaintiff. During these repeated incidents, defendant represented to the minor plaintiff that his behavior was appropriate. Defendant Robert Sylvester Kelly's acts or sexual abuse against the plaintiff, Heather Williams, occurred in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. As a result of the sexual abuse, plaintiff Heather Williams developed psychological coping mechanisms and symptoms of physiological distress, including great shame, guilt, self-blame, confusion, depression, repression, and disassociation. That for the first time in June 2015, plaintiff Heather Williams, when talking to a therapist, broke through her repressed memory and became conscious that the sexual activity with the defendant, Robert Sylvester Kelly, had caused her significant harm and injury. Plaintiff Heather Williams did not know prior to June 2015 that she had injuries caused by sexual abuse committed on her by the defendant, R. Kelly. Prior to that time, plaintiff was unable to link in her mind the acts of childhood sexual abuse by the defendant to her fragile emotional and mental state and her problems stemming from that abuse. As a direct result, the sexual abuse inflicted on her by defendant Robert Sylvester Kelly, as for said, plaintiff Heather Williams has suffered and continues to suffer great pain of mind and body, shock, emotional distress, physical manifestations of emotional distress, embarrassment, loss of esteem, disgrace, humiliation, and loss of enjoyment of life. Was prevented and will continue to be prevented from performing her daily activities and obtaining the full enjoyment of life, and or has incurred and will continue to incur expenses for medical, psychological treatment, therapy, and counseling. Wherefore, the plaintiff Heather Williams prays for a judgment against the defendant Robert Sylvester Kelly in the sum in excess of $50,000 and for the cost of bringing this suit, respectfully. I can't even read this attorney's name, but it looks like it's going to be Dusham, if I can even pronounce it right. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. So that's pretty much it. I think the next page is an affidavit. I, Jeffrey S. Dusham, attorney for the plaintiff Heather Williams, hereby claim that the amount damages sought in this claim exceeds $50,000. The affiant further saith not. And then there is something called a 1-109 certification under the penalties provided by law pursuant to section 1-109 of the Illinois Code of Civil Procedure. The undersigned certifies that the statements set forth in this instrument are true and correct, except as to the matters therein stated to be information and belief, and so much matters the undersigned certifies as aforesaid that he or she verily believes to be true. Dated February 5th, 2019. So that is it. That's the first half of the video that we're going to do. So we're going to continue with the next video, and we're going to look at some of the claims that she mentioned. Basically, to me, it seems like a emotional distress, intention, intentional infliction of emotional distress, or unintentional infliction of emotional distress. And they also mention the statute. So we're gonna end this video, and then we're gonna come back in the second video. We're gonna look at the statute, and then we're gonna look at some general case law for emotional distress. See you soon.